Hello, this is Anthony with BBSN, and we are back for another payoff pitch game, the 1969 Ferguson-Jenkins replay, and this is start 10, and Ferguson and the Cubs will be traveling to Houston to take on the Astros in this one, in start number 10. And coming into this game, in real life, Fergie had a record of 5-2, 2.43 ERA. In the replay, he is currently 7-2, a 1.78 ERA. And he put together a string of 19 scoreless innings before that was broken up in his last start. And in the replay, the big difference is based on balls, he has not walked a batter for the last 3 games, I believe, has 71 strikeouts in 76 innings, and has given up only 4 home runs as compared to 8 in real life. And in both real life and in the replay, thus far the Cubbies are 7-2 in games that Jenkins starts. And in this game played on 5/17/69, I do not have the score there, but the Astros beat the Cubbies 5-4. And in tonight's game, Ferguson will be facing Don Wilson, and a tragic story, and we'll have a couple of tidbits about Wilson as the game goes on. But let's get started, and we'll first go through our starting lineups. For the Cubbies, the standard lineup that's been out there most of the season, actually. Kessinger at short, Beckert at second, sweet swinging Billy Williams in left, Ron Santo at the hot corner, Ernie Banks at first, Randy Hundley behind the dish, Al Spangler in right field, Don Young in center, and of course Fergie on the mound. And for the Astros, actually a very good lineup. Joe Morgan at second, Norm Miller in right, the toy Cannon Jimmy Wynn in center, Kurt Blefary and Wilson actually roomed together during this season, and they were among the first black and white players to room together, and actually caught a little bit of stick for that in various cities. Notably Atlanta was one that was mentioned, and took some chiding from other ball players, which you think of that now, and again, I was 6 years old, so this was within my lifetime, but yeah, that was still a very turbulent time in terms of race relations in the U.S. So those two, and it was mentioned that Blefary, Wilson, Joe Morgan, and Miller, I believe, used to actually play cards together and hang out together. There was actually a very good interaction amongst the players on the Astros. So, as is sometimes the case, sports kind of leads the way in terms of issues in society. But yeah, by all accounts, a very generally harmonious club with all players getting along well. So after Blefary, Dennis Menke will be at short, Doug Radar at third, Jesus Elu in left field, Johnny Edwards behind the dish, and again Don Wilson, on the mound. So lineups in place, we are set to go, and Wilson will face Don Kessinger to lead things off for the Cubbies here. And that's going to be tough, and it will be a ground ball down to second base. Morgan takes care of that. And over to Blefary, 1 down. And next up will be the second baseman, Glenn Beckert. And that'll be patient results, 75. And it's going to be a fly out to center field. So 2 away as the toy Cannon Jimmy Wynn hauls that one in. Sweet swinging Billy Williams, the third batter in the Cubs lineup, steps in. And that'll be a defensive check. And we will go to the fast action cards, which I did not get out. I knew that I forgot something. All right, fast action cards for defensive checks and runner advancement. And this is going to be an error on the pitcher. And a roll of 2 in the Astrodome, that's going to be an error regardless of what Wilson is, and he is a 2 there. But E1 will put Williams on at first base. And we'll bring up the cleanup hitter, Ron Santo, and Williams gets the lead. And we'll see if he tries to steal. He does not. Santo steps in. Here comes a pitch. And that'll be a patient result. And against the right-hander, that's going to be a base on balls. So runners on first and second now. So walks and errors. We'll come back to haunt you, and Ernie Banks steps in. Runners on first and second. And looking to put the Cubs out to the early lead here. And that'll be a wheelhouse result. Ernie swings, but he gets over the top of it. It's going to be a ground ball down to Morgan, and that takes care of it. So no runs, no hits. 1 error, 2 men left, and we head to the bottom of the first inning. No score for the Cubbies, and the Stros coming to bat. Fergie Jenkins to face Joe Morgan, and that's going to be tough. And Morgan will ground that down to shortstop. Kessinger over to Banks, 1 down. Norm Miller, the Astros right fielder, steps in, and that will also be tough. And will be a ground ball to Kessinger again, so 2 away. As Kessinger, as he often is, and Jenkins starts, busy to start things off. And the toy cannon, Jimmy Wynn, tough, swing and a miss, sit down, Jimmy. A strikeout for Fergie, 3 up, 3 down, go the Stros. And we head to the top of the second inning, no score. Randy Hundley to lead it off against Don Wilson. And that's going to be a tough result. And 19, there will be a definite strikeout as Wilson says, I can do that too. And Randy Hundley makes his way back to the dugout dejected. Al Spanky Spangler steps into the box, and another tough result. That'll be a ground ball down to Morgan at second base, 2 down. Center fielder Don Young up. And in play, and double zeros, and you know what that means. We're going to the rare play chart, and base is empty here, so we will be in this first column. And a roll of 8. Batter argues a strike call and is ejected. So Don Young's evening is a short one. And the Cubbies will have to scramble and go to their bench to get a new center fielder. And against the right-hander, that is going to be Adolfo Phillips. So Don Young heading to the showers, and Phillips will take his place and assume his count. So as I write Phillips' info in, Don Wilson, of course, he died on January 5th, 1975 of asphyxiation. And the circumstances, and I'll go into detail probably more at the end of the game, but basically had fallen asleep or passed out in his car, and the motor was left running, and was discovered by his wife, who actually woke up during the night and heard the motor running, did not go down and check then, actually moved the couple's son into the master bedroom, which was right above the garage, and went back to sleep. And tragically, the fumes went up into the master bedroom, and it also took the life of Wilson's son. And his daughter was in critical condition and was in a coma for some time, and eventually did make a full recovery. But there are just some strange, I guess, inconsistencies with the whole affair. And like I said, probably at the end of the game, it kind of gives you the backdrop, and we'll go into the some more specifics at the end of the game, or if we get a pitching change or other lull in the action. So Adolfo Phillips steps in now for Young, and that's going to be a patient result. And Phillips, he's going to draw the walk there against Wilson. So Phillips very adept at drawing base on balls, and that will bring up the pitcher Fergie Jenkins. And Jenkins, 6 will be tough, and Jenkins is going to go down swinging there. So 3 outs as Wilson strikes out 2 in the inning, walks 1, and 1 runner left. Astros will be coming to bat in the bottom of the second with no score on this one. And leading it off will be the aforementioned Kurt Blefary, one of the first Again, rooming with Wilson is one of the first black and white players to room together in the majors. And Fergie is tough. 55, and that's going to be out of range. Fly ball to center left field, and Williams puts out away. 1 down, so Fergie has set down the first 4. And he continues to pitch exquisitely here. Tough to Dennis Menke, and swing and a miss, strike 3. Sit down Dennis, 2 down. And that'll bring up Doug Rader, the third baseman. Rader went on to be a major league manager for some time. 9 will be tough, and that's going to be a fly ball to left field again. Sweet swinging Billy Williams puts out away, and second 3 up, 3 down inning for Fergie and the Cubs. And we head to the top of the third. Still no score. Don Kessinger up for the Cubs. Wilson has a sign, kicks, delivers, and that'll be a patient result. And Kessinger's going to draw a walk, and that is the third walk given up by Wilson. And Kessinger does not get a lead, so he will stay put for Glenn Beckert. And the pitch, and patient again, and Beckert, he's going to fight that up and drive it back up the middle. A sharp liner into center field. Runner on first advances 2 bases. So over to third goes Kessinger. And the Cubbies are in business. Runners at the corners, nobody out. And the heart of the order, Billy Williams, Ron Santo, Ernie Banks due up. Wilson in a jam. And 11, patient again. Wilson having some control issues early here. It's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop. And 11, that is outside both double play ratings, so that will advance the runners. Coming in to score will be Kessinger. And getting the RBI on the ground out to shortstop is Billy Williams. So 6-3 and a ribby, and Beckert goes to second base, so 1 out and a runner in scoring position at second for Ron Santo. Comes a pitch from Wilson, and tough. And that's going to be a fly out to right field. Runner holds. Ernie Banks up now with 2 down. And Beckert gets a lead at second base. Here comes a pitch, and that's going to be tough. And Ernie, swing and a miss. So Wilson, K's and walks are the story so far, but the Cubbies do get a hit and get the first run of the ball game here. Also leave a runner. As we head to the bottom of the third, 1-0 Chicago over Houston, and Jesus Lou set to lead it off against Fergie. And Lou, one of 3 brothers to play in the majors around the same time. A lot of talent in that family. A tough result, and he's going to go down swinging. Tough to strike out, but Fergie bends a slider in there, and 1 down. Fergie set down the first 7 he's faced as Johnny Edwards steps in. And tough, and 73. That's going to be a fly out to center field, 2 away, and Fergie's counterpart Wilson will be the batter. So Fergie looking to be perfect through 3 innings, and a tough result. And Wilson, he's going to be strikeout victim number 4, and another 3 up, 3 down inning for Fergie. Set down the first 9 Stros he has faced as we head to the top of the 4th inning. 1-0, Cubbies lead this. Don Wilson to Randy Hundley. And 9, patient, and Hundley, he's going to draw yet another walk. So for Wilson, he's got 3 strikeouts already, but has also walked 4 batters now. As Al Spanky Spangler steps into the box. And Hundley will probably not be going. Almost decides to, but thinks better of it wisely. And the pitch, and that's going to be tough. Swing and a miss, and Spangler. Another tough strikeout, but he goes down swinging there. So Wilson, he's wild today, effectively wild. And so am I. 9 is going to be patient, and a result of 12, and Phillips is going to draw the walk. That's his second walk. So runners on first and second now, and up comes Fergie with 1 down. And Fergie, with the tough results on Wilson's card, he's going to swing away. What the heck? And 7. Probably should have bunted. It's a swing and a miss. And that's Fergie's second strikeout. So 2 down, back to the top of the order for Kessinger. Some questionable managing there, but Fergie is a horrible bunter. He's an F bunter. And pitch is tough, and Kessinger, he's going to go down swinging too. So Cubby's having a hard time touching Wilson. It's either off the plate or swing and a miss. They have only 1 hit through 4 innings, but it's been good enough to get a run across. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Still 1-0 Cubs. And the Stros have yet to get a hit against Fergie as Joe Morgan steps in. And that's going to be ballpark. And 37 against the righty will be in play. So 1-27. And Morgan is going to get the first hit of the game. That's going to be a resounding double into the gap. So Joe jogs around to second base, goes in easily, a stand-up double. And Norm Miller now has a chance to even things up. And a pitch from Fergie, that's going to be a defensive check. And a low number on the dice does not bode well. Range check first baseman. What does bode well is Ernie Banks is down there, and he's an A, but 17 or 14 is going to get by him. That's going to be a hit. And by first base, that's going to be a double. And all runners advance too. So coming in to score is Morgan, and we are all tied up at 1. And Miller is on second base, so back-to-back doubles to start the 4th inning. And Stros are in business. The toy Cannon Jimmy Wynn up. And Fergie needs to get an out here, and tough, 46, swing and a miss, and that's a big one. Wynn goes down swinging, and he's got a little pop in his stick. Brings up Kurt Bleffery, the left-hander, steps into the box. Pitch from Fergie, and that's going to be tough. 74, it will be a fly out to center field, runner holds, so 2 outs. And Jenkins looks to get out of this with only minimal damage after allowing 2 doubles to lead the inning off. Dennis Menke up. And 2 is going to be tough, and Menke, he's going to fight that off, and it's going to be an opposite field single, blooped into right field. Runner on first advances 1 base, runner on second advances 1 base with a question mark. And with 2 outs, that means he is going to come in and score, as he would have been off. So Fergie finds himself in a situation he hasn't been in a while, behind, as the Astros take a 2-1 lead. And Doug Radar steps in. Comes a pitch from Fergie, and that'll be in play, 28, and Rader's going to have a single. Hard grounder into left field. Runner on first advances 1 base, and again with 2 outs, it'll be an automatic 2-base advance. So Menke over to third. And Fergie struggling as mightily as he has in probably his last 4 starts right now as Jesus Alou steps up. And that's going to be tough, and Fergie's going to get out of that with a fly ball to left field that Williams takes care of. But the Astros come up with 4 hits and 2 runs in the bottom of the 4th inning. And we head to the top of the 5th, Stros 2, Cubbies 1. And second baseman Glenn Beckert will lead it off against Wilson. And 5 will be tough, and Beckert, that's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop. So 1 down for the Cubs, and sweet swinging Billy Williams up. Williams, a little bit of a rut lately in Fergie starts, looking to get going here, and that's going to be a result of in play. 42, not good enough though. It's going to be a ground ball to first base, and 8 outside of Williams' double play rating, even with Wilson's. Jeez. So 1-45 will be a double play, and not going to happen. It'll be a fielder's choice instead. We didn't even have a base runner. I guess I'm going to use the excuse it's late here. I don't know. That'll work. 2 down. And Ron Santo up. Holy cow. And 12 will be tough, and Santo, ground ball to shortstop. And 3 up, 3 down for Wilson despite the phantom ghost runner. I know everyone who played baseball as a kid in the neighborhood is familiar with ghost runners. So that's what we had there as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning, and the Astros are up 2-1. Johnny Edwards facing off against Fergie, and 36 in play. It's going to be a pop out to second base. So Beckert puts Edwards away, 1 down. Don Wilson steps into the box. And Fergie the pitch, and patient, and Wilson going to draw base on balls here against Fergie. He definitely is. And that is Fergie's first walk in some time, and ironically coming to the opposing pitcher. And I don't even roll for the automatic steal attempt with opposing pitchers because that happens so infrequently. So Joe Morgan steps in. And that will be a tough result, and that's going to be a ground ball to second base. And outside of Joe's double play rating and Fergie's. So that's actually going to move Wilson to second base. Morgan is retired 4-3, so 2 down. And Wilson on second base for Norm Miller. And Miller had an RBI double his last time up. Here comes a pitch from Fergie, tough. And Fergie says, "Not this time, you suck." Swing and a miss, strike 3. So the Stros go down. They have 1 base runner left. And we head to the top of the 6th inning, 2-1 Stros in the lead. So Ernie Banks looked to make some noise against Wilson, who has walked 5 Cubbies, but he's only given up 1 hit so far. And 6 will be tough, and Banks just out of range there, and that'll be a fly ball to right field, 1 down. Cued that right off the end of the bat, and a nice play in right field by Norm Miller as Randy Hundley steps in. And tough, that's going to be a ground ball to shortstop. So 2 quick outs as Dennis Menke takes care of Hundley, and that brings up Al Spanky Spangler. And yet another tough result, and this one is going to be a fly out to center field. So, second 3 up, 3 down inning in a row for Wilson, and Wilson is showing he is equal to the task of dueling Fergie here as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, still 2-1, and the toy Cannon Jimmy Wynn steps in. It's going to be an in-play result and pop out to shortstop. So, Kessinger ventures into the outfield, puts Wynn away, and Kurt Blefary will be the batter. Blefary today has flown out to left and to center, and that'll be patient, and Blefary is going to draw Jenkins' 2nd walk of the game. And again, Fergie had been spot on with his control over the last several starts, losing it a little bit in this one, just has not been sharp overall as Dennis Menke steps up. And Blefary going to see if he can go, does not get a lead. Back to first base, and the pitch to Menke, that's going to be in play. And that'll be a fly ball to right field. So 2 down as Spangler takes care of Menke, and that brings up Doug Radar, runner on first base. Pitch from Fergie, and that'll be a defensive check again. And error on third baseman, and Santo is a 3. So he'll take care of that, a roll of 97, no problem, makes the play. And that retires the Astros here in the 6th inning, so we're heading to the 7th in this one, 2-1. Stros in the lead, and the Cubbies need to get their bats going here against Wilson, who is working a 1-hitter thus far. And Adolfo Phillips in for the ejected Don Young, who is thrown out in the 2nd inning for arguing a strike call. And Wilson going to be tough. And Phillips is going to be struck out. So Wilson pitching very well, minus the effective wildness, and another tough result. And Fergie's going to go down on 3 straight pitches. So back to the top of the order, and Don Kessinger will try and get a 2-out rally started here. 6, and swing and a miss. Wilson not only 3 up, 3 down, but strikes out the side. And he has the K ball going as we head to the 7th inning stretch here in the Astrodome. And Jenkins back out on the mound at the old ball game as Jesus Alou steps into the box. And that'll be in play. And Alou, he's going to fly out to center field, 1 down. Johnny Edwards up, and the Astros catcher's 0 for 2. He's flown out to center field, popped up to second base. And another in-play result, and that'll be a fly ball to right field. And Spangler puts that away, 2 down. Pitcher comes up. And Wilson has struck out and walked in his 2 plate appearances. And Fergie in play, and that's going to be a ground ball down to Banks at first. He's going to take that himself, so 3 up, 3 down. And we are heading to the top of the 8th inning, still 2-1 Stros, and this game is moving right along as Glenn Beckert ready to lead it off for the Cubbies. And I continue to be as wild as Wilson with the dice. That's going to be a ballpark check. And 28, the Dome is a tough place to hit home runs out of, so that'll be an in-play result. And Beckert going for the Cubs' second hit, not going to happen as he grounds it down to second base to Morgan, who whips that over to first, and Blefary retires Beckert. Billy Williams comes up with 1 out, nobody on. And 6 will be a tough result, and Williams cues that off the end of the bat. That's going to be an opposite field double down the line. So first hit for the Cubbies since the 3rd inning, 2nd of the game, and Williams in scoring position looking to come across with a tying run as Ron Santo is hoping to drive him in. And tough, going to be a ground ball to second, and that's going to move Williams over to third base. So 4-3 on the putout, and that brings up Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, in the clutch situation here. And let's see if Banks is equal to it. The pitch from Wilson, and tough, 28, swing and a miss, and Wilson continues to dominate the Cubs hitters as Banks strands the tying run at third base. 1 hit, no runs, no errors. 1 man left. We head to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's still 2-1 Stros. And Wilson now, the K-Watch. Up to 9 strikeouts against the Cubbies, so he's turning in a very Fergie-like performance there for the opposition. And Fergie, his only hits allowed were in the 4th inning, but that's been enough to put him in a hole here. In play to Morgan, and Morgan's going to drive a single back up the middle. And Joe, he will try and run on a roll of 6 or less, and he's going to be held. So can't get the jump. Norm Miller steps up. He'll look to get it done himself at the plate. And Fergie's going to have a tough 68. It's going to be a ground ball down to shortstop. And 6 just outside of Miller's, inside of Jenkins. So we will go to the 2-10. And 45 or less is a double play. Be a fielder's choice as Morgan is erased at second. And Norm Miller on at first base now. And Miller, let's see if he can get a lead. Does not. That brings up the toy cannon, Jimmy Wynn. And Jimmy Wynn can give the Astros a little bit of comfort here. 9 is going to be tough, however, and Jenkins having none of that. Puts him down for the 3rd time today on strikes with a wicked slider over the outside corner. 2 down. And Kurt Blefary comes up, runner on first base. Here comes the pitch. Wild, 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 and patient. And that's going to be a fly ball to right field. And that will retire the side. So for the Stros, 1 hit. No runs, no errors, 1 man left. We are through 8. And last chance for the Cubbies heading into the top of the 9th. They trail the Astros 2-1 behind Don Wilson, who is working on a 2-hitter. And coming up for the Cubbies will be Hundley, Spangler, and Phillips. The pitcher's position is due to bat 4th if they get something going. Wilson's fatigue ended in the 8th, but he's only given up 1 run, and so he is good to go. Actually, can even give up a second. 9 will be Patient, and 34 to Hundley, and Hundley's going to draw a walk. So Wilson looked to have had his wildness problems resolved, and they are returning with a little bit of a vengeance here, which is going to get some activity going in the Astros bullpen. And warming up out there will be none other than future Cincinnati Red, Jack Billingham, as Al Spangler steps in, and with a 1-run deficit, Hundley is not even going to attempt to get a lead at first base. And here comes a pitch in play, 39 to Spangler, and that's going to be a pop out to shortstop. So Wilson jams him, and he's retired as Menke puts that away. Brings up Adolfo Phillips, and we will have a pinch hitter for Fergie, regardless of what happens here. So it's also going to break his string of complete games. And 10 is Patient, and Phillips is going to draw the walk. That is the 3rd time he has walked today, so runners on first and second base. And the pitcher spot is due up. So in the Cubbies bullpen, Hank Aguirre will warm up if he is needed to pitch the bottom of the 9th inning. And coming in to pinch hit against Don Wilson is going to be Jim Qualls. And Fergie didn't have a very good day at the plate either. He struck out all of 3 of his previous at-bats. So 1 down, runners on first and second. Qualls, a base hit, could tie this one. That's not going to do it. That'll be tough, and 83 will be a ground ball down to shortstop. 5, that's just outside of Qualls' double play rating, so we will go to the 2-10, and again 45 or less, they're going to turn the double play, and they do not. So Young will be erased at second base. Over to third goes Randy Hundley, and on at first will be Jim Qualls on the fielder's choice. So 2 outs, runners at the corner, and all is not done for the Cubbies. It's up to Don Kessinger to get it done here. Here comes a pitch from Wilson, and 7 is going to be tough. 54, and that's out of range. That's ball game, a harmless fly ball to right field. So Fergie is outdueled here, and the Cubbies get a couple of walks in the top of the 9th inning, but cannot do anything with them. And this one is over. Your final score, Astros 2 and Cubs 1, and Fergie, he is going to drop to 7-3 on this replay. And he pitched a fine ball game. He went 8 innings, only gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned. Gave up a couple of walks, which are the first walks he's given up in some time. And struck out 7. But he was outdueled by Don Wilson for the Stros, who went the distance, and he stymied the Cubs, a 2-hitter. And Wilson gave up 1 run. It was earned. It was a little while today as he gave up 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 walks to the Cub hitters, and struck out 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, and struck out 10. So final line score for the Cubbies: 1 run, 2 hits, no errors. For the Astros, 2 runs, 5 hits, 1 error, and again Fergie's mini win streak is snapped. He pitched well again, but just Wilson pitched better tonight, and again he was effectively wild. struck out 10 Cubs and managed to get by with 7 walks because he only gave up 2 hits over 9 innings. So about Wilson. So January 5th, 1975, as I mentioned earlier in the game after Don Young got ejected. So just some inconsistencies and strange, I guess, circumstances around his death. You know, and again, tragically, both Wilson, who was 29 at the time, and his 5-year-old son died of asphyxiation. His daughter, who was 9, was in the hospital for some time and then briefly in a coma, and she recovered. And now his wife, interestingly enough, had an injured jaw when police arrived, and initially, well, I believe her statement was she could not recall how it got that way, and then indicated later that she may have fallen. And there's a lot of, I guess, hearsay surrounding the death, and some newspapers reported it as a suicide, and the coroner actually ruled it as an accidental death. Now, the weird circumstances, Wilson was found in the passenger seat. He had a blood alcohol level of 1.67. It was basically, it was over 150% of the legal limit in Texas, which was 0.10. So he was intoxicated, and the car engine was actually cold when police arrived at the scene, and the car had run out of gas actually in the garage. So here's where some of the I guess strange circumstances start to come into play surrounding his demise. His wife indicated again that she had woke up, heard the car running, did not feel bothered to go down and check on Wilson, who they placed him arriving home at roughly 1 in the morning, which would be kind of odd if your husband's not home and you wake up after that and you hear a car running. Normally most people would go to the garage and check. Instead, like I indicated, she moved her son into the master bedroom, which unfortunately would cost him his life, and went back to bed. She actually called the police around noon that day, so when she found Wilson. So again, almost a full 12 hours between the time police got there and the time he was targeted as arriving home, which again would give his car time to run out of gas and would account for the engine being cold. So even that in itself, to not go down and check in the garage till noon, the fact that Wilson was in the passenger seat, and the fact that his wife had an injured jaw, there was talk that his marriage was not going so well. And some people speculated that they arrived home together actually and got in an argument, and that he had been in the passenger seat because he was drinking, had struck his wife, she had left him there, and he had passed out. Or some have even gone as far to say, as the car was off, they had gotten to an altercation, she had left, come back, found that he was passed out, and then started the car again. And I'm not going to speculate, just laying out some of the different theories. And ultimately, again, the coroner and the police ruled his death accidental. It's a tragedy either way, especially since it also took the life of his son. But just laying out some of the circumstances and some of the, I guess, theories that were put out there. And even to this day, there's quite a bit of mystery that surrounds his demise. So, again, an unfortunate story, but Don Wilson, tonight was his game as he outdueled Fergie, and again, the Stros take a 2-1 victory. So we will be back next. Be back to red, white, and blue racing. The next race, race number 7 on that circuit. So that'll be the next event on the channel, and probably the last, as we're going on vacation at the end of the week until we get back. I may squeeze in another Fergie start, or maybe go back and wrap up the Strat series between Satchel Paige All-Stars and the Cooperstown Misfits. We will see how time permits. But thanks for checking this one out, and as always, please, in the left-hand space of our YouTube channel, we have our friends of the channel there. Many of them have Great content, have channels that are updated regularly. Al Red Sox Fan, Higher Ground Gaming, ID Gesture, After Further Review with Steve Tower, Clinton Parks, and I always know I'm going to forget Strat-O-Matic Delaware, Baseball Demos, Tabletop Baseball Plus, The Earl and Earl Show, Broke Black Man 94, reviews of TV shows and movies, and again the new channel we came across, Ariba Tabletop Baseball. So please support the folks that support our channel as well, and until next time, have a good night everyone, keep rolling for the fences, and we'll see you.